I'd like to introduce another speaker, Charlie Post. He's a longtime activist in the labor and socialist movements. He teaches at CUNY. Welcome, Charlie Post.
Comrades, I want to speak very, very briefly on why I, and I think a lot of other people, came together to form United Against Racism and Fascism. It's because we understand that fascism is something much different and much more dangerous than the usual crap we see from the Democrats, the Republicans, the employers, etc. It is something much more than attacks on the usual attacks of police on black people, the usual homophobic comments from politicians and the like. The left in the United States and around the world tends to equate fascism with everything that is bad. Austerity, the brutal camps at the border, police murders and the like. We understand that fascism is something a bit different and very much more dangerous. It is a social movement that recruits from the lower middle classes and even from working people, that engages in extra-legal and terrorist violence against individuals and organized workers working and oppressed people. The same forces, the same conditions that gave rise to Trump and the populist far right, the deepening social crisis that has resulted in falling living standards for the vast majority of people, the inability of the mainstream politicians, Democratic and Republican, to address this crisis, and the weakness of the left and of the organizations of working and oppressed people fuel fury with the existing world. A fury that unfortunately has been able to be directed for a large part not against the actual perpetrators of this, capitalists, their politicians, etc., but towards other working people, towards unionized workers, towards people of color, immigrants, queer folks, Muslims, and the like. It's this understanding that fascism is something very, very different from what we usually face every single day in fighting in our workplaces, in our communities, that has led us to see the need for a united front coalition that has as its laser focus mobilizing and confronting the re-emerging fascist gangs, the Proud Boys, the scum who showed up in Charlottesville, the murderers in Pittsburgh and in New Zealand, and who believe that the election of Trump and other far-right governments have put the winds at their back and have given them license to re-emerge on the streets of the cities around this country and to carry out the sort of brutal attacks that they've carried on in the past few days. And while we in UARF are committed to building solidarity with all the other struggles of working and oppressed people, strike support against austerity, against the repression of undocumented immigrants, against police violence, because we believe that these struggles are crucially important for people to understand that there is a real enemy, the enemy of the 1% and their politicians, and that we have an alternative that doesn't target other working people, while we in UARF also keep a laser focus on the need to outnumber the fascists now when they are weak. We do not want to be in a situation where the murders in Pittsburgh and in New Zealand, the sort of the brown scum that emerged on the streets of Charlottesville, that this becomes an everyday occurrence in the streets of the United States. We must confront them now. We must drive them off the streets. We must make it clear that they are unwelcome. Please join us in building this united front. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie Post. Just a very quick announcement. We have some donation bags that are going to go around. All these great signs that we printed, this banner cost us a bit of money, and we hope that you can help to offset that cost for us. All right, so give a couple bucks or whatever you can to the folks with these lovely red bags that say UARF NYC, and thanks to the folks holding those bags and walking around. All right, I'm very excited to welcome our next speaker, Hawk Newsom. He's the chairman of Black Lives Matter New York. He's an activist at the forefront of the new civil rights movement, dedicated his adult life to the betterment of his community and his nation as a whole. A native of the Bronx, he was raised in a devout Christian household. He holds a GED, Bachelor of Science, and a law degree. Hawk is engaged in protests and activities to combat injustice and police brutality. He works with members of the LGBT community, victims of human trafficking, and the mental health community. Hawk speaks all over the world on matters of social justice towards minorities. Give a huge round of applause. Hawk Newsom.
Shout out to everybody that's here. Shout out to Rise and Resist. Gays Against Guns. Freedom Socialist Party. DSA. I'm talking about people who really show up for black people all the time. People who always show up for black people all the time. Right? You want to learn a quick lesson in racism? Take a look around you. Take a look around you. If this was a march for immigrants' rights or women's rights, it'd be people all the way back there.
That's right.
But when you talk about 400 years of oppression of the black woman and the black man, ain't nobody got time for that.
They don't want to come.
They got time for St. Patrick's Day. They got time for this, they got time for that. Let me tell you a little joke, right? I always bug out when I see black people with St. Patrick's Day, right? Because you got the West Indian Day Parade in Brooklyn, you got the African American Day Parade in Harlem, and I don't see Irish people showing up with red, black, and green on. So I'm like, who the fuck are you cooning for? Like, cut that shit out. Stop supporting people who don't support you. I just had an argument with that right-wing dude that's running around trying to interview people, right? I love to fight with them. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I love to confront them. You know why? Because I went from a GED to a law degree, right? So I learned how to take this mind and what I accumulated in the Bronx and apply it to the law and to the facts, and that's where I challenge them. And if you put the facts up against white supremacy, they lose every time. The numbers and the irrefutable lesson, the irrefutable evidence is on our side every time. We ran around saying that policing in America is racist for years. Donald Trump passes the First Step Act. You know who the endorser was, the first endorser? The Fraternal Order of Police. Pay attention. The people who have been saying that we were lying all along endorsed a bill that said racism exists in policing. Are you fucking kidding me? The facts, y'all. It's the facts that are on our side. The facts that brown and black blood is spilled all the time and no one cares. I talk what I talk because it's the truth. You have candidates who run on Black Lives Matter platforms, they get elected, and they don't say Black Lives Matter no more. If you think I'm lying, check their timelines. I like Bernie. Right? But you got 4 other candidates talking about reparations. Reparations in a real way. 4 other candidates. And Bernie Sanders said he's not for it. Healthcare is a problem, write a check. Any other problem, write a check. Black people need some sort of redress? Nah, we ain't got no money for that. That's bullshit. So let's ask this Jewish man if he was against reparations for Jewish people. I like it when people go quiet. That's how I know when I make fucking sense. Because that's the reality that's sinking in. So what I'm telling y'all is, right now, we have to confront these racists and these fascists at every turn. They show up to our rallies, we show up to theirs. You understand me? I don't give a fuck. I go to Fox News. I go to a fucking KKK rally. I go anywhere and stand on this truth fearless. Because I fight with facts and I fight with my hands. And if any of y'all seen the footage in Charlottesville, you saw us on the front line. You saw these colors on the front line. We're not here to play. We're not here to play. People tell me about love. Yeah, I got love for y'all. I got love for my community. And right now, I tell y'all the truth, it's time to go into these communities and build. You understand? Because we got to reprogram the way black folks think. You end systemic racism tomorrow, and we still got some serious problems. I got another antidote for y'all. You go to any school, anywhere in this country, and it's a white neighborhood, and you show me where the staff at that school and the principal are mostly black or brown. You don't see that shit. And I love your teachers out here, but the bottom line is, you go to any school in the Bronx, Harlem, and the majority of the faculty and the staff is white. Nah, I reject that shit. You look at these NGOs that are put there to serve our people, and they're ran by white people. You might be doing good work, but if you really cared, you'll put an impacted brown or black woman in that director's position. This is all facts. We need to run our community, okay? I got love for my Jewish brothers and sisters. But you go out to Brooklyn and their communities, and you ain't gonna find black landlords. You ain't gonna find black stores. But you go in our communities and everybody owns everything except for us. This is the shit I'm trying to change. Now I'm gonna fight in the legislature, but I'm gonna build up black people. If you love me, fuck with me. If you love the people, come out and join me. But I stand here and I say thank each and every one of you for giving up your Saturday to stand against racism and fascism and all those fuckers who are put here to oppress us. And these people who act like their words don't have any ramifications and repercussions. We stand against all that. And from the bottom of my heart, I say black power. Black power. When I say black lives, y'all say matter. Black lives. Black lives. When I say black lives, y'all say matter. Black lives. Black lives. And fuck Donald Trump.
Thank you, Hawk Newsom. We're getting towards the end of our rally. We had a couple solidarity statements. I don't have time to read them out loud, but we'll post them on our site. We've got a statement from Catalonia, we've got a statement from Montreal, and we've got a statement from Father Luis Barrios up in Washington Heights from New Sanctuary. Just a couple more brief speeches. I'd like to introduce, is Andy here? Yeah, there you are. Andy Eisenson from the National Lawyers Guild is a gender ambivalent Jewish attorney mediator and practitioner of alternative justice systems, providing legal services to non-traditional families at the Chosen Family Law Center, and the president of the New York City chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. Andy Eisenson.
Hi, we've been standing on the cold for a minute. Thank you for sticking with us. So I wrote I wrote down what I wanted to say. It's alright, I'll get it. I wrote down what I wanted to say a couple of days ago, and then yesterday I was like, I think I have to update it. So I wanna start off by speaking to my Muslim family for a second, and say that we're in this together. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Kind of. They're pretty simple. I love you, and I'm here with you, and we're family, and we have always been family, and more often than not, being family means grieving together, and I grieve with you. So I'm the president of the New York City chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. So if you see a neon green hat, that's us. We're here to provide legal support. We're also part of the coalition here, which is so we're standing with this action. If you don't already have the hotline number, it's 212-679-6018. If you get arrested or you need help, call us. We've got your back. Okay, that's what we're here for. I've also been a dedicated legal observer myself for almost a decade, and it's super weird to be at a demo in a normal colored hat. So I asked my therapist the other day, am I in an anxiety spiral or is everything fucked forever? And my therapist was like, listen, I believe that we're going to be terraforming Mars and building anarchist communes at the bottom of the ocean. And I believe that it cannot matter whether it happens in your lifetime and mine. Because if it matters whether it happens in our lifetimes, then we're fighting for ourselves and not for the future. So it got me thinking about the people that came before us, who laid the path that we tread, and the people that will come after us, our ancestors and our descendants in this struggle. Because the times when I feel like I'm closest to burning out is because I'm feeling like it's all on me. Like, my personal responsibility to heal the world is too heavy to bear. Of course it's too heavy to bear. It's not for any of us to bear alone. It didn't start with us, and it won't end with us. And we have to think about that personal responsibility in the context of and in connection with our ancestors and those that will come after us. So we're working in coalition, not just with each other in this lifetime, but l'dor vador, from generation to generation. As Rabbi Tarfon says, it is not upon you to finish the work, but neither are you, O child of freedom, free to abandon it. There are more of us than there are of them, but only if we pull together. Our oppressions are intertwined, and so too are our liberations. We rise together or not at all. As Comrade Leslie Feinberg says, my right to be me is tied with 1,000 threads to your right to be you. And when I look at these fascists here, you know what I see? I see fucking cowards. I see a bunch of fucking piss babies. Alright? They're so... Yeah, fuck that. They are so afraid of being replaced. They're so afraid of the world that we're building together. They're so terrified to exist in a world that has our brightness and our solidarity and our love for each other in it, that the only thing they can think of to do about it is shoot us. You don't have to heal the world yourself. You don't have to be destroyed in service of justice. You don't have to struggle alone. I've got your back. The Guild's got your back. Our ancestors have your back. And those that are coming after us, the next link in this chain, they've got your back. All you have to do right now is turn to the comrade next to you and let them know that you've got their back. Thank you very much. Fuck off, Nazi punks. Mir werden sie überleben.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andy. I'd like to introduce Hassam Gamea, the Outreach Director of the Islamic Leadership Council of New York, an umbrella organization that represents over 90 mosques and organizations. He has been involved in grassroots organizing and activism within the Muslim community since 2011. Hassam Gamea.
Thank you for having me. So, we all know what happened on Friday. On Friday in New Zealand, Thursday night in New York. And can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
And what we saw after the attack happened was many people coming out in support of the Muslim community, supposedly. But many of those people who came out in vocal support of the Muslim community have been the ones who have been contributing to the Islamophobic narratives that have resulted in that violence.
Right.
When you have people, when you have politicians and children of politicians who will attack a Muslim woman in Congress for talking about lobbyist groups and organizations that have dumped millions of dollars into the Islamophobic industry and call her anti-Semitic for it, but have not said a single word, have not condemned a single time the 26,000 bombs that were dropped on Muslim countries in 2016 alone. When people come out, in 2016 when Trump announced his Muslim ban, I went to the protests in Washington Square Park, I went to the protests over here, and it was filled with people who were using the suffering of Muslims to promote partisan politics, ignoring Muslim voices. Muslims at that protest were chanting, from Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Every single time this chant was started by Muslim activists, it was drowned out by non-Muslims saying, the people united will never be defeated, to undermine the reality that there are walls. Just like there are walls being built in America against immigrants, there are walls built around the world that Americans support. The same Americans who oppose those walls. If you are against Donald Trump's Muslim ban, if you are against Donald Trump's wall, but you support the walls built against Palestinian Muslims and Christians and Jews, if you are against that, if you are against the shootings, Muslims dying by guns, but you have no issues with Muslims dying by bombs and mosques that are centuries old destroyed in the rubble, then you are an Islamophobe. You are an Islamophobe. You are not a supporter of Muslims. If you go to a vigil yesterday, you went to the vigil yesterday, which was to support the Muslims who were killed and to support the Muslim community, and instead you turned yourself into a victim because Muslims called you out for your hypocrisy and your Islamophobia, then you are an Islamophobe. You are a white supremacist and you are an enabler of fascism, of white supremacy. Whether you identify with being on the left, whether you identify with being a liberal, whether you claim you are against the right, it doesn't matter. You are still an Islamophobe. And we are tired. I'm not coming here to be your peaceful Muslim. I'm not coming here to tell you Islam is about peace. Islam is also about justice. I'm here demanding justice for my community. I'm here demanding accountability for CNN, Fox News, the New York Times, Time Magazine, the Washington Post, all of these media outlets which claim that they support and they're against the fascism or the right-wing racism of Donald Trump, who have contributed for decades to the suffering of my people, to the suffering of my community. I want accountability for these people. They are not allowed to claim solidarity with us if they refuse to condemn their own actions and their own complicity and my people's suffering. 8 years of Obama's presidency, 8 years war against my community, war against my people around the world. This did not start with Donald Trump. And it will not end with Donald Trump either. And this did not start yesterday or 2 days ago in New Zealand. This did not start with the Ben Shapiros or the Jordan Petersons or whomever. It started long before that. These people have been using rhetoric against my community. People who have been supporting my community by saying if we stop Muslims from coming here, then they're going to go back angry and they may retaliate and may make us more unsafe. Every single time when people are defending Muslims, they make it about themselves. They do not make it about the Muslims themselves. They make it about the potential threat that Muslims and Islam poses to the West. I ask, what is the difference, fundamentally speaking, between those who support what happened in New Zealand because they believe those people are fighting an invasion of their country by Muslims, that they believe they're fighting on their behalf, and those who exported their Islamophobia to the state and supported the Iraq War, which was the majority of Americans? What is the difference? Both are fascist, both are racist, both are Islamophobic, and we will not overcome any of this unless we consult and we engage and we reflect on our own racism, on our own biases, on our own erasure and dehumanization of people. And I just want to say, when Muslims die, when Muslims are killed, when they're martyred, my community, yes, people are afraid. We are also strong because God says in the Quran, don't say about those who die on the path of God that they are dead. For they're not dead. You just do not know. You just do not perceive it. They're not dead. They're alive. And they'll continue to live on to my community and to my people from this day forward forever and ever and ever. And may God bless the people of New Zealand. May God bless the allies of the Muslim community. May God bless the Jews and the Sikhs and whomever has suffered from bigotry, and the black community especially. And the black community is a very heavy part of the Muslim community as well. 32% of the Muslim community in America is black, the largest population of Muslims in America. And may God bless all of them, and may God grant us victory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hassan Gamea. We have one more speaker. I'm excited to introduce him to you. Michael Bletcher has worked as a research assistant in several psychology labs before pursuing a career in community organizing. He campaigned for Bernie Sanders, and he is currently the president of Politics Reborn, a post-partisan membership organization that provides resources and guidance to people wanting their community to have more power in the political process. He is currently working with different groups fighting forms of displacement. Please welcome Michael Bletcher.
Hi everyone. Hopefully I'm not too loud. I want to thank you guys for letting me speak. Today I'm going to talk about something that may be a little different than most of what the speakers have spoken about. And that is, right now, we can talk about national politics, we can denounce Trump's racism all we want, but half a mile away, there's one public housing development of many that exist in this city that is currently being poisoned by lead, that is currently being privatized by de Blasio's administration. Malcolm X once said that the biggest hypocrites are the North, who point to the racism of the South and denounce it. Yet they do nothing when it comes to the systemic racism that exists in New York City. Let's get something straight. New York City is the Jim Crow of the North. It is where broken windows was born. It is where stop and frisk occurred. And it is where right now 650,000 people, I'll say that again, 650,000 people, that's the size of Boston or Seattle, right now are suffering. They have no heat on certain days. They have no water on certain days. Their children have been exposed to lead and their government has concealed it. And then to make matters worse, they're using such atrocities to now privatize a third of it. So all these NGOs, and New York City has more NGOs and nonprofits than any other city in America. What we need from you is to actually help fight with NYCHA. What we need from each of you is to sign up and join with us. There are over 330 developments all throughout the 5 boroughs. We cannot do this alone. So we can denounce fascism all we want, and the hatred that's on display in Trump's rhetoric and at neo-Nazi rallies. But if we stay silent with NYCHA, we prove Malcolm X that Nothing has changed. We remain the biggest hypocrites. So thank you again. If you're interested, I'll be with a clipboard and sign-up sheets. We need all the help we can get. You're talking about right now people without heat at times. You're talking about during the summer where people lined up at a fire hydrant to get water, okay? If your own children were being exposed to lead, you would want others to come and help you. This isn't some small, trivial thing. You're talking about kids who will be have mentally developed problems, who may have learning disabilities from this. You're talking about for the rest of their lives. So help us. If you really care about the most marginalized communities, now is the time to help NYCHA. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael. All right. I'm going to introduce Maya Murad.
Thank you, Michael. Everything that you said right now just brought tears to my eyes. I belong to Fight Back Bay Ridge. I'm from South Brooklyn, and we were there. We were at NYCHA. We were at MDC every single day till the heat went on and the lights went on. Today I'm here because I have so much respect for the people that helped us put this rally together, the people that came out here today, and I'm part of this team, and I'm proud to say that I am. Thank you. A couple of my friends, well, first of all, let me tell you something. When I came to this country by myself, alone, from Turkmenistan, which is a Muslim country, I felt very alone in this city. And I moved to South Brooklyn, very white neighborhood. And I'm proud to say that I know a lot of activists in South Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge, who are fighting against racism, Islamophobia, fascism, all sorts of hatred. Thank you so much for turning up for us, South Brooklyn. Another thing is that when my son is walking the street, he's been called caramel macchiato. He's expelled from school because he's a child of color for scratching with a pencil sharpener his classmate, just to show an example 2 days after shooting of police officers Ramos and Lau in Crown Heights. That is disgusting. That's unacceptable. It broke my heart. And I decided from there and on that I will be fighting for my people of color. I will be fighting for single parents who are having a hard time raising a child on their own because they're women of color and they're single mothers. A few days after I got my green card, I went to a Democratic club and I was introduced to someone as Maya, who just received her green card, and how amazing and welcoming the United States is. The person turned to me and asked me, "Are you running for an office?" And this person that introduced me, she said, no, she's celebrating her green card. Just to say that it is horrible. I'm here, you gave me my citizenship, but give me equal rights. If I want to run for an office, I should be able to do so. I should be able to have equal rights. My friend Jasmine Robinson, she could not be here today. She is from Amplify Her. That's the organization that supports women to run for an office, and specifically women of color, single mothers. Those are struggling with paying for child care. Those that are struggling being accepted in their community because they're the only person of color in the borough. Those that are being followed around by their opponents' people because they're different, and how dare they have such aspirations and dreams such as running for an office. I also have another statement from my friend Anthony Beckford. He could not be here today, unfortunately, because he's with his Muslim brothers and sisters in his neighborhood. He's saying, "I apologize for my absence today, but after what happened in New Zealand in the mosque, I must stay with the Muslim community in Brooklyn and stand against hate and Islamophobia with my Muslim brothers and sisters. Racism and fascism are not just hot topic. This is the reality. Many of us suffer under both. I have been fighting back against both since the age of 12. The system is not broken. It is functioning the way that it was created to function, but that does not mean that we step back and bow down to it. This battle we're in is a long one, but this is worth it. We do not only fight for ourselves or in honor of our elders and ancestors. We fight for our children and their future. We will break the foundation that racism and fascism were created on. I have been in the front lines of many movements and have stood in solidarity with many. So I give you all this call for action. Stay true to the fight, support the black and brown communities. We are true ally, friend, comrade, and supporter. Support those who are in the trenches of this fight, and let's shut this down.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you so much.